This figure was released in 2007 by Bandai, and it's quite an interesting design. As you can see, if you're familiar with Gundam designs already, this is going to be quite an interesting one, namely for the fact that it was designed by an architect who does buildings. Well, that's what architects do. Well, but, you know, it's someone that doesn't usually make giant robots. So there are quite a few interesting things to go over about this figure. So let's start off with one of the more interesting things, the accessories. So for accessories, we have not just one, but two micro figures. Now these are very small. These are 1/100 scale, as they are master grade micro figures. Here's the pilot. Of course, I have painted these already. And you also get a cow. These were both originally entirely white pieces, and my cow is actually accidentally knocked off one of the horns. Well, you'll see how the cow interacts with the rest of this figure as we get further into the review. We have a little plug that goes on the back that fills in the stand. We have quite a decent length chain for a mace. Two very unique beam sabers that are round but have a square slotted hole. And on the actual Gundam itself, we have the shield and the beam rifle. Now, the Turn A universe is quite an interesting one. It is a mixture of a whole bunch of them. It's technically canon extension of every universe into one. It was a very interesting thing that Bandai and Sunrise are trying to do. So with the gun, let's have a look at this. As we were saying about accessories, notice I just slid this up. The other part that does move on this is we have this handle bit here. As that twists and collapses, and this closes up. So this is the stored mode of the rifle. Now, this thing down here actually reveals the other handle of this, so you can have a more ordinary handle. But I prefer using the one in the back. You do have a carrying handle right here, so if you want to not be in a fight, but if you want to carry your gun, there you go. Shield, pretty cool. We've got quite a lot of moving parts. We have the handle down here. We've got these bits that clip onto the arm, and this whole thing is a rail, so it can go up and down. Now, these two do actually fit on in other ways, as well as the beam sabers. Now, beam sabers are actually stored right here on the back. Now, take them out, you just slide them out. And then, as you can see, there's the slot. Instead of a round peg, it's a slot style one. And there you go. Pretty decent length. And there are like these square pegs, and there are indents on the rifle, or the rifle, but the beam sabers, so beam sabers can go in pretty easily, and they hold on alright. Doesn't have any optional hands. What you see is what you get, these articulated hands. I believe these were connected all together, the bottom three, so which I cut them. But if you don't cut them, they are free, one, and a thumb. Now, as I said before, we do have storage for the rifle. It clips on like this, I believe. There are some slots in there which line up, And the shield, you want to make sure it's in okay, well, this gets into another point. This isn't actually enough space back here with the stand plugged in. So give me a chance to show you the stand. This isn't included, but the stand adapter, sorry, is included. So it goes in there quite securely, and it is a little difficult to get out. And this isn't because of the top coat. This is actually quite a tight connection in there. I'm gonna have to do this off camera. Let's see. Don't want to break this. That's it. And I broke it a little bit. Okay. It's because it's got these teeth that go in there, and I did break it, and the one's almost broken. Let's get that adapter in there, of which I'm gonna have to get some tweezers to get that broken peg out now. Very carefully get in there. Easier said than done. Again, I'm gonna have to do this off camera. Oh, I just pushed it in further. I should be okay. And this is the piece that goes on. You want to make sure it's orientated so it'll actually fit in there, okay? And there you go. It can be a little difficult to remove, so you might need tweezers to take it out. It is quite a small piece. And it does fit pretty flush, which is nice. Sure, there you go. Alright. Back onto the weapon storage itself. Which, unfortunately, yeah, as you've seen, you can't use it with the standard adapter, which does plug into the back instead of the waist, which is a unique thing about this figure. So the shield goes in this peg. The rifle goes like this. Like this. There you go. Now you have those in there. If you want to bring over the mace, it should slot in. This is where top coat isn't necessarily a good thing. We'll just have him hold it, because these fingers are pretty good at gripping things with the top coat on. And I'm gonna have him holding the mace. And there you go. You can pull the pose pretty well. We'll get into the articulation in a bit. But there you go, that's all the weapons on there. There are more weapons to be seen though. And that has more to do about what this can actually do. Now, I don't like to push this in all the way, because it can be very tough to take it off. Hence it just falling off like that. You can actually take these off as well, but you have to, well, the way you take them off is a little bit tricky. So you have to take the whole arm off, right? Which you don't do it like that. You're meant to take this piece off, which is easier said than done. You can also take your beam sabers off. There's a proper piece that comes off right here. There you go. And it is pretty like well sculpted underneath. Okay. Yeah, this is a little difficult too. There you go. You can take the whole thing off. And then everything is falling apart now. Oh boy. This is not how I wanted this to go. That goes on like so. There we go. And then we can put this back on. I'll leave that off for now though, because it'll just make the next thing I want to show easier. Okay, so you don't have to take that all off. You can just lift this up and just take it out. Pretty easy. And more pieces come flying off. There we go. This is a little older. Oh, it was a while ago I made this. So I'm not surprised that a bunch of pieces are coming off. Okay, we can actually reattach the arm. Alright. There we go. So now it's all clean on the back and you don't have all the weapon storage and stuff, which is alright. So, on the back there are these panels that do all open up. These are very fragile. Very delicate, so you want to use some sort of tool to not damage anything. Just being very careful with these. And you'll see what these are related to in a minute. Let's see, we'll do the bottom one. And then the middle one. And then the top one. Top one's a little loose. Okay, so you can actually see there are these holes here. As I said, the top one's a little loose. Just leave it like that for now. By the way, there is an optional white piece that can go right here. I used the blue one because I prefer that look. But the white one makes it look a little bit different. So these panels here can pop off quite easy. Let's see. These are fragile as well. And we're gonna very carefully lift these. Okay, so that one lifts up like that much. And when you lift this one up, it actually brings it all forward. So I'd recommend doing this one first, because it pulls it all forwards ever so slightly and it actually lets you get better access to some of these. And this one is going to be very careful. Be very careful to get it back in. There you go. Okay, so going back over here, you can see these holes. You want to use something to push something through. It's easier said than done. You can also use gravity, and as you can see, the missiles are now pointing out, and that's pretty cool. So these are all like the exit ports or the thrusters to go through, and it's all really cool detail. But of course, at this size, it is, you know, very limited by how strong it is, and you know, it is a lot of small parts basically. Okay, so pulling this whole section out, because this whole section can come out, and this is all related to the show, which I haven't seen. That can come off as well. So this all comes off, and this whole section can come out, and this whole section is very nicely detailed, by the way. Just like all the section inside there is very nicely detailed. And these parts are quite fragile, so I'm just gonna very carefully bring it back together. Okay. So we have our empty missile silo here, and we have our missiles here. Now you can paint these. Haven't painted these yet. I probably will soon. Just like all of the inside details of this. As you can see, it's very nicely detailed on there. Got all these nice raised sections in there, or on there. And even inside here, it's hard to see, but there are a bunch of tiny details in there. In fact, if we can, you can kind of see right in here, there's a bunch of tiny details in there, which would really be brought out with some sort of dry brushing or something like that. Now, coming back to this piece, reason why you can take the front off, and the reason why you get a cow is so you can recreate one of the scenes in the show where they save a cow and you pop it in, and now your cow is inside your Turn A Gundam. Really didn't have to do it, but it is really nice the fact that they've went through all of that effort just for a little reference like that. That's really cool. Anyway, I'm going to put the missiles back in because I prefer that, and I prefer to have my cow on display separate. Now those parts do just come apart quite easy. You can just peg them back in, but I do worry about them slowly wearing down. Okay, last thing on this of note, before we actually look at the whole thing and look at the articulation, is the actual cockpit. Like, there is a core fighter, well, a cockfighter more like, and it comes off. This whole thing rotates like that. The pilot inside rotates, pilot which I painted as well. The wings come forwards and shimmy backwards. So looking at it from underneath, you spin the whole section forwards and it shimmies backwards, and there is your little core fighter. And it is quite nice looking. This is one of my favourite core fighters, just because of how much it transforms and just how like sleek looking it is. Unfortunately, there isn't any good way to put this on a action base. There's no like female ports. There aren't any. There's a slot on the top, and that's it. So yeah, you're gonna have to use one of those like cradle pieces or one of the clip pieces that can just like hold onto it. And without it, the Turn A looks a little off, you know. It's alright. It's alright. So we're just going to put the core fighter back on for the rest of this review, because it's going to look a little off with it off. There we go. Alright. Just for articulation, before I forget, here's the instructions. A little bit unique. It looks like, you know, you got the chest here and you got all the like the symbols and everything. The cool thing about these is it has all the drawings for the designs, and they look really nice. And you know, other sections they're showing like all the little features on there, the hands. Like, I'd love to see like a perfect grade of the Turn A. That would be amazing. Like even the legs. And then you've got your middle spread piece with their really nice painted version. You can see what it looks like with the white chest piece on there. And I think the rest of this is just pretty standard. Yeah, pretty standard construction. And then there's the back, telling you to panel line your kits, as you always should, because this kit is covered in panel lines and it looks great. I went with black for this one, and it really works. I think it has a, when used black on white, looks a little bit more cartoony. I prefer that look. Some people prefer grey and brown and the yellow and all of that, but I'm fine with black. Now, articulation. Right. We'll start with the head. We have a hinge which is attached at this like faux ball joint. It's like a ball joint but with these two bits on the side. And it really does get the same sort of articulation you would get from a ball joint. So it's kind of like it's a double hinge. It's very interesting. So that's about as much as it gets side to side. Forwards, about that much. Backwards, quite a lot, which is good because there's the upgrade kit with the wings, which I do want to get. In fact, you can kind of push the forwards a bit more, because you can kind of pull it out a bit. So yeah, it's good. It's not like amazing. It could be better, of course. Also, with these, you have to close these in a particular way to not break them. Here we go. But yeah, that could be better. Arms. These are on their own, like, rotating piece. And they can become detached because they attach on the actual robot instead of the arm, like the actual torso. So these are going to be quite stationary unless you detach them, and they can be quite floppy if they're not, because they're not actually held on by any friction apart from that. So it's good for like taking pictures and putting it into a pose, but you're not going to be playing around with it as much. So we'll take that off for, well, we'll unpeg it for the arms articulation, and of which it can go up about, well, I can 360 actually. It's quite tight though. As you can see, all of this is top coated. So we've got what looks like, let's see, double hinge into another double hinge, so universal basically. Forwards, so we can get quite far across the chest, which is good. Of course, they can get pretty close to the beam sabers, which would be about here-ish. So I can almost reach them properly, which is a shame it can't quite reach them. As you can see, the actual part here does move a little bit, so it does get out of the way when it is attached, which is nice. The elbow is on a double hinge, and it can get about that far, which is alright. And then it's on a swivel. I don't know if it's on a double swivel though, is it? No, it's on a single swivel at the top. Down here we've got a swivel, we've got a double, I'm not sure if that's a ball joint. I think that's a ball joint into a ball joint, so we've got like a double ball joint, like a dumbbell joint. So you get about that much. The hand itself, you can pull it out a little bit, but it is on the ball joint, so it will pop off. Unfortunately, that's just not like the newer Vercar hands, which are amazing and do have a lot more articulation when it comes to things like that. So yeah, you get the 360 and all of that, and you can move it in and out and side to side a little bit. Like I said before, we've got the thumb, ball joint, finger ball joint, 3 fingers, which will be attached out of the box, but if you detach them, those are all on ball joints. You can get a little bit of spread on them, more on here but less down here. Waist is interesting. Since we don't have a core fighter, we can get as much as we want. Again, it's the same as the neck. We've got this like faux, well, that's a hinge to the hinge to another hinge. So it's like you got a universal joint here, and it works very well, and it does unpeg a little bit, unfortunately. We even have a hinge up here, so you can get like a little bit of nav crunch, a little bit of an arch, and side to side is okay. Not amazing, but okay. Wish there was more. You can kind of pull it out more, but you will risk it detaching. Hips, side skirts can come up, swivel around, they are on ball joints. Front skirts, saw that on the core fighter, they can come up, they can change a little bit. They get out the way for everything that you need though, and there are no back skirts on this. So you get really good range of articulation. The hips, as you can see, that's just a peg into a hole. So you're just going to get swivel on the actual hip joint. However, you do have a hinge and another swivel right here. So you're basically getting a single joint universal style articulation. Back of the legs, here and here, are the more interesting parts. Well, you'll see that more when we get to the knee, which we'll do now actually. So with the knee, we get a very nice double knee joint. Now there's a lot of stuff going on in here. And let's see if I can actually show it. It's very difficult to show this. Okay, so this lower part, there's a joint here that comes out of it, and it gives it a more extension. Now it's a very non-human like one, but this is a giant robot, so it can do whatever it needs to, or whatever it wants. So you get this. Now when you actually bend the knee, you're likely going to bend that all the way in, and this whole thing is going to perfectly slot in like teeth with each other, and it all collapses very nicely into this quite compact piece. For something that's got such large thighs, it actually collapses quite nicely. And this is a very interesting construction. There's a lot of different pieces, and it's very unlike any other like inner frame section. Now for the ankles, bit back and forwards, no side to side, feet down, up, the actual joint here, that's the heel. I called that the ankle before. The actual ankle itself is a ball joint. You can go forwards and back. The actual toe, forwards and back, no side to side, but the ankle does have side to side, so it's got decent articulation. It's not amazing for something that's this unique of a shape, that, you know, it doesn't have to be limited by the standard articulation that Gundams are usually limited to. You know, you'd hope this would have a little bit more. By the way, there are a bunch of pegs. I keep these lined up. There you go. You would hope there would be more, because it is such an odd shape and it is quite slim. You'd hope that they could just really exemplify this thing's articulation. You know, it's one of those few kits that really needs that articulation as well, I think. Now let's just take a few notes here, where we have these eyes which have got mirrored backing on, so there's a sticker behind them which is just chrome on these clear eyes which are behind, well, the clear eyes are in front of the chrome sticker, so it makes them look really nice and reflective. Green you'll have to paint in yourself unless you want to use a sticker, and let me tell you, you're going to want to paint this in. It's indented, so it's really easy to do. You just paint it and then you wipe away the excess, or you sand it off slightly. You'll notice quite a lot of creaking. That's just because I top coated this with a matte coat, and that definitely has made this bit more solid. It was pretty solid before. It's not something that's loose or anything. I mean, that's as loose as it is at the waist, but below that it is solid. So I definitely recommend this if you want something that is nice and solid. Now let's try pose it a little bit, and we'll summarize how I feel of this. So Turn A is, since it's such a unique series, it's got a unique robot, and I definitely like it for its uniqueness. I'm saying unique a lot of this. Take a shot every time I say unique. This review probably die. Fucking hell, this is... There we go. Now, due to the constructions being like the construction parts, you know, like the way the parts are actually constructed, a little bit fragile if you don't glue them in. A little bit of a downside, but it does hold itself together okay when you're not moving it, which I mean is just standard, I guess. If you're not moving something, it should stay together, but it's most of the time solid, is what I'm trying to say. No, this is really good. If you want to try something different, of course you got the mustache and mohawk and all of that, but this is truly a unique model kit, a interesting build, something unlike any other, and I think you'll enjoy it if you want to change. I do want to get the Turn X to go with this. Really good mobile suits that really do stand out on your shelf. Like when this is on my shelf, it is always something I can easily see, mainly because of the mustache, but just the shape of it. It's just, I like it. You know, it's not for everyone, but I like it, right? I do recommend it for multiple reasons, as I've already said so far. It's unique. It's nice and solid. It poses pretty decently. If they were to do a new version, definitely get that, because hopefully it'll have more articulation and everything. The features that you get on this are great as well. Not that they were even needed, but it's still really nice to have those little features, even if they are a bit fragile, a little bit hard to access. I'd definitely recommend being careful with your display peg thing, so it doesn't just break into pieces like this. Not that it even needs these big prongs. These are just to help you line it up. The actual part that locks on is this bit here. I do wish it had a better connection though. Something like down here, like a little panel you could just detach and just slot it on to a display stand. It would be nice, but I think this is more so you can put those butterfly wing effects on there, which I'll probably do a part 2 review if and when I do get those. They are a little bit rare now. Not like this kit though. This kit isn't super rare. It's still being printed, I'm pretty sure. If not, they should do another run, I believe, because it is a one of a kind. Or, well, there's a high grade, there's a Build Fighters high grade, and then there's the Turn X. But as the actual suit itself, you know, all the pieces in this are unique to this kit. There aren't any waist pieces really. You can count the white option piece of the middle as a waist piece, but everything else, you are using every single piece in this kit. The construction, I'm just looking at the instructions now, it is so interesting, you know, it's refreshing. If you've made a lot of like Universal Century kits, I would highly recommend this. And I'm just seeing now, the shoulders actually are on a single hinge right here. That's a single hinge right there, but they get so much range out of that single hinge. This is the sort of unique ideas that I want to see Bandai do again, Bandai and Sunrise, to hire architects and car designers. That's why I liked the G40 so much, was because it was unique and different. Definitely a different take to the RX-78, which we've got so many of now. They release like a new one every year, so it is nice to have something different. So once again, definitely recommend this if you can get it. If you can get it for a decent price, I believe it's like 100 New Zealand dollars. That's, you can get this like 50 US. You know, if you can get it for 50 US dollars, it's worth it. Like 80 US, yeah, that's about what I'd expect to pay for it. But if you can get it for 50 US dollars, go for it, because you will not be disappointed. You'll enjoy it. Well, you will enjoy at least the construction of it. Even if you don't like how it looks as a whole, you should enjoy how it goes together at least. And if you're someone that likes painting, like me, there's a bunch of details inside, which can be a little bit risky if you want to paint those. I think one of the reasons I haven't painted it yet is because when that comes in and out, you might scratch them a bit, so you have to be a bit careful with those. Apart from that, it's great. You got these little figures. This is the only Gundam kit that comes with a cow. Like, how amazing is that? I love it. The pilot's alright, you know. Nice small detail. Not many parts of this are actually lined, so you have to do a bit of freehand on that. So, good for painters, good for posers, good for builders, good for everyone. Anyway, I'm getting to the point where I'm rambling now. So, hopefully you enjoyed this review. Hopefully you enjoy this model kit. If you haven't got one yet, you get it. Hopefully you enjoy it, because it is enjoyable. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. You know what to do if you want to see more. You can subscribe, and hit the bell to get updates. I believe that you should get updates when I'm live if you're subscribed at least, but just hit the bell if you do want to get updates when I am live and everything. But yeah, thanks for watching, goodbye.